All right, this is the final part in a series of acrylic painting technique videos, number 9. This one's about using all kinds of other textures and talking about some ways that you can include some really unusual things and push the surface to be a lot more textured. So one thing that you can do is you can texture paper. So one way to do this is just to crumple up some fine newsprint or any other kind of paper. You can use tissue paper as well for this. And then all you got to do is apply some gel medium to the surface. And so we'll do this with the tissue paper on here. We'll add some gel medium to the surface. And then I'm going to tear off a little bit of this. And I want to preserve that texture, so I'm going to lay it down kind of as it is. And then of course you can cover it with gel medium to kind of hold it in place where it's at. Sometimes tissue paper has some pigment in it that will bleed. But you can do that with all kinds of different paper textures. Pretty straightforward. You can also adhere anything that's porous to your surface with some glue. So like wood, pieces of wood, popsicle sticks, even styrofoam, which is actually made out of plastic, but is also kind of porous. You can actually glue with just some regular Elmer's glue and it will stick in place. You can do that with wood. Things that are porous are easy to adhere to the surface just with Elmer's glue. Now sometimes you may have other things that you're trying to adhere to the surface. Maybe you want to reuse some bubble wrap. In that case, you'll probably have to use gel medium because it will help kind of surround the edges and hold it down. But you can apply some gel medium underneath it and stick that down. And of course, just like with the tape transfers from the previous video, because I'm putting it onto a porous surface, it'll stick better. If I was doing this on a non-porous surface, it may never fully dry under there. So you can do that with porous or non-porous surfaces with gel medium. You can adhere wires. These are not porous, but they will stick. If I surround them with enough gel medium, just about anything will stick to the surface. So I can get this wire kind of surrounded and globbed in there. Usually it's not pretty at first, but again, this gel medium will dry clear. And so we'll be left with just the pieces that we've embedded there. But you can do just about anything this way. I have a cup of some debris. I'm just going to put some dirt, some soil from the ground. It's usually best to use non-perishable materials, but you can mix just about anything with some gel medium. I'm going to mix it up with this palette knife. And this will give me a nice gritty texture with a lot of different things in it, like little pieces of hair, fibers. And I can apply that on my surface as well. This can be a good way for building up textures and getting some kind of substance in your gel medium to build around shapes, like I've done kind of building around this piece of wood here. And you can even kind of fill spaces that way. Maybe I want to kind of stick it down like that. Anyway, I'll let it dry like that so you can see what it looks like. You can also do this with pieces of paint. So if you peel these off of your palette when they dry, you can actually paint with dried flecks of paint inside of a gel medium. So I'll stick that fleck of paint in there. We also may have some modeling paste, which is kind of a thicker substance that you can use, and you can apply it to a surface, kind of like gel medium. And you can do this with gel medium too, but it's not quite as thick. This stuff you can apply it to a surface and really form it into kind of any sort of texture you want. It will shrink down a little bit as it dries. But for example, that's how I got this line texture here. I just use this sort of thing. And as I brush that through it, I can leave a texture behind. And you can do all sorts of things with modeling paste to increase the texture in your painting before you start painting. But this will be there on space number 9 for you to see as an example of how the different things adhere. You can tear apart styrofoam, something that's pretty useful when it's in the box to save your materials, but otherwise it just becomes garbage. So one thing you can do is tear it up and use it to create surfaces. I like to glue down the flat surface, so you can actually take little bits of that and adhere those to surfaces just as well. And with this you can create really three-dimensional surfaces, either by gluing them or using gel medium. You can paint over the top of any one of these surfaces as well once it's finished. The other thing you can use is cloth. You can put bits of cloth into your work. Cloth generally will need to be kind of soaked with the material in order to adhere, so I'm going to soak that with that gel medium. And you'll see what this looks like once it dries on square number 9.